With the new set coming, we get amazing new toys for our Phyrexians to cheat out truly enormous creatures our opponents just can't do anything about that practically win the game on turn 4. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today I get to see how improved Phyrexian is, specifically with 2 new cards from Phyrexia All Will Be One, so stay tuned, and I've even included a game-winning combo, as those who know me is always my thing. But before we get going, I want to thank Wizards for allowing me to take part in the early access event, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button below to not miss out on future All Will Be One content as I explore all the synergies and combos that we can abuse. But onto this deck, and I want to quickly go over Phyrexian for those who aren't aware. It's a 3-drop green enchantment with Hideaway 5. When it ETBs, you get to exile a card from the top 5 cards of your library, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you own, and if you then control a creature with power 7 or greater, you get to cast that card for free. So we all know what it does, but what do we want to cheat out? Well, look no further than Tyrranax Rex. I think I've said that right, but it's a colossal 8/8 7-drop Phyrexian Dinosaur, which cannot be countered, has Trample, Toxic 4, Ward 4, and haste. Normally I would have played Titan in this place, but I think this is better as it attacks immediately and inflicts 4 poison counters. And don't forget, 10 poisons is death, so against those life gain decks, this is just perfect. I don't think I lost today when I actually got to cast this card. The other main Phyrexian target I've got here is Phyrexian Fleshgorger, but you can play whatever you want here. I like Ward a lot, so I go with this, but like I said, feel free to play whatever you want in this slot, whatever creature that you want to cheat out. So we need some cheap 6/6s to play to enable Phyrexian on turn 4, and with the new set comes a new card. It's Archfiend of Dross. After playing with this all day in loads of different decks, I think it's legitimately the real deal and it's going to be played a lot. So for 4 mana, it's a flying 6/6 that ETBs with 4 oil counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you remove an oil counter, then if it has none left, you lose the game. Also, whenever a creature an opponent controlled dies, its controller loses 2 life. So a lot to unpack there, but hopefully that you die text doesn't really matter, as your opponent will have to kill it before it kills you. You can always kill it yourself. I do think I only died once today from that particular line of text, but I want to note that as I do love a combo, I am playing 1 copy of Fateful Handoff in this deck. It allows you to give control of a creature to your opponent, so time this right and they will die in their upkeep. The other Phyrexian enablers are Shakedown Heavy and Clay Champion, which all enable turn 4 Phyrexian combos. As it's a new set, I wanted to try 2 other new cards, so I'm playing Armored Scrapgorger, an 0/3 mana dork that has +3/+0 as long as it has 3 or more oil counters on it. Each time you tap it, you get to exile a card from a graveyard and put an oil counter on it. Trust me, the exile effect is very relevant against graveyard and reanimator decks. The other new card I'm using is Bloated Contaminator. It's a 4/4 trampler with Toxic 1, and when it deals damage to a player, you can proliferate. It has synergies with other cards in the deck and the poison as well, so I thought I would give it a shot here. Apart from that, I've got some Gwenna for more ramp and some Go for the Throats for some removal. The meta in early access is a little bit strange, so I'm not really sure what removal is best here and going forward, but I'm more worried about opposing big threats like Obliterators and Elish Norns, so I've gone with this. I've got 25 lands and that's the deck. So Phyrexian has always been a fun little combo, and today was no exception. Loads of new cards to play with and against, so expect a wild ride. Alright, on the play, opening hand of my opening game, and hand is pretty nice with Phyrexian and our Archfiend, so fingers crossed that opponent gets off to a slowish start. But I guess we have Go for the Throat here, so we get to hold that open as well. Opponent with Abzan, and it's Galagreet as well. We all know that that's a very synergistic card, so we will remove that whilst we have the chance. Especially as this coming turn, we are going to want to play Phyrexian. Fingers crossed for a decent target here, as we have Hideaway 5. Shakedown Heavies, Archfiends, but there's the T-Rex that we're after. So, opponent with Mire, okay, so that effectively means that they can't receive more than 1 poison counter a turn, and you can exile this to save a creature dying, but we get to play our Archfiend here, and yeah, this will trigger Phyrexian. Here comes the T-Rex, and we will attack with the T-Rex. This will put the opponent down to, well, they don't block, so they go down to 11. They unfortunately don't get 4 poison counters, just the 1. But I mean, look at our damage already, and yeah, opponent's already seen enough on turn 4. Right, on the play here, hand not that great with 2 T-Rexes. You don't want to be having those big creatures in your opening hand if you can help it. You want to be casting those off Fight and to get to 7 mana is going to take a while. This one looks a little bit better though. I think we have a nice little curve here with our Scrapgorger, Fight and then Clay Champion. So we're bottoming the Fleshgorger. See what we are up against here. So Scrapgorger is a nice card if the opponent has some graveyard or reanimator shenanigans going on, as we get to exile from the graveyard. But we're waiting to see what the opponent wants to do here. Okay, well, they're ready to play now, so we'll drop a swamp and say go. And our opponent with a red-blue land, so an Is It deck. I'm not familiar with every card in this new set, so we'll just take each turn as it comes. But I'm sure there's a lot of things everybody wants to do and a lot of new cards here. So we're learning as we're going along. The Scrapgorger, though, is an 0/3 that has gets +3/+0 as long as it has 3 oil counters in it. Gets an oil counter by tapping and removing something from the graveyard. We'll play Fight in here, see what we can exile. Go for the throw, an Archfiend and another mana dog. Well, we'll put the Archfiend under and pass the turn, say go. Guess our Scrapgorger gets a counter here. Might as well attack. We're not going to be tapping it. If there was a card in the graveyard, we could have exiled it then, but opponent with Experimental Augury, so looks at top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, then proliferate. Pretty nice card if the opponent has a poison counter on it, and I have played with that card in a Dimir proliferate deck today, played with it quite a lot actually. But opponent with a Mirex, which creates mites, and drown here, so that's a -4/-4 and proliferate. So looks like we're up against a proliferate deck, but gets to cast our Clay Champion. Fortunately, we don't have the correct mana as they did kill our mana dork, so it's just a 6/6 now. I think in hindsight, I would probably play less swamps in this deck, a couple more forests, but it is what it is. And here comes Kaito. I'll put up on the screen what Kaito does. But yeah, Clay Champion cannot attack this turn, but that's fine, as we don't really want to attack with it. As we draw our Fateful Handoff, which, interesting card, is I've just got one of in this deck as a combo to combo off with the Archfiend of Dross. I like a combo, and I think this is a good turn to do it. I will probably be making a video about that specific combo at a later point, but we get to play our Archfiend of Dross this turn as a Fight Riggin enabled. Fortunately, we don't have any hasters and the Clay Champion couldn't attack, which is annoying, but there's a lot of damage on board that the opponent has to deal with. And it's Sahili to make a pair of 1/1s, presumably. There they are. So an artifact-themed, planeswalker-y kind of deck. So it looks like they're experimenting with Grixis here. And a 2/2 with Death Touch is a pretty annoying card for us. Another Clay Champion, okay. So if this game gets a bit grindy, maybe this Fateful Handoff is going to work here. So yeah, this is a 2/2 drone that Kaito has created. So yeah, expecting a lot of like reading cards and trying to work out what the opponent may or may not play. This is the first few minutes of early access here. Trying to see if it's worth attacking down the Planeswalkers. But I think I'm looking at this Fateful Handoff as an opportunity to get this combo to work. So we'll put the counter on the Archfiend, as that's probably going to be our best option here. And I'm just going to send everything the opponent's face. Ignore these Planeswalkers for the minute. And yeah, we're going to lose our Clay Champion here. And opponent is going to take, what, 5 damage and leave a 1/1 on the battlefield. That's what it looks like anyway. Okay. So I know we lost a clay champion there. I do have another one in my hand. Archfiend of Dross actually triggers, and opponent, because they lost 2 creatures, loses 4 life. Yeah, I could have been casting these clay champions for 1 more mana. I just wasn't really thinking at this time. I was trying to work out how to get the damage through. Already seeing this combo in my hand. I really want them to tap out on the turn that before Fateful Handoff is going to help us. So opponent makes another drone. And another Kaito. Okay, so 2 drones. So this is going to be really annoying to get through. Really want to find a way to kill this 1/1. Fortunately, as it is a artifact, our removal spell of choice in this deck is a Go for the Throat. There is a lot of... There is Go for the Throat. There are a lot of pesky little 1/1 artifact creatures, little mites, thopters around. That 1/1 removal I find hasn't been particularly helpful. But yeah, there's not much we can do in this particular situation here. So we'll just keep pumping up the Archfiend, attacking the opponent, and hopefully eventually they run out of blockers, but I guess they're just going to keep making little 1/1s. No point attacking with the 2 5/5s. Got to remember though that the opponent does lose life each time a creature they control dies with Archfiend on the battlefield. Something that was becoming more and more obvious as this game went on. I just feel like this Archfiend is a absolute house, and it's going to be quite popular in these black and green decks, or black decks, as just for 4 mana it does a lot of damage. Had the opponent not had these Thopters, they would definitely be dead by now. Okay, Liliana, right, so loads of Planeswalkers here. And okay, they've tapped out for the Augury. Wonder if they want to proliferate my creatures here, which you can do. No, they just proliferate all their Planeswalkers, so that's what they look like they're trying to do. Grixis Planeswalkers with proliferate, but we are going to Fateful Hand off our Archfiend, and we'll sack one of our clay champions. And yeah, I think they might think that they are going to win this game, but they have completely tapped out, and this is the combo that I have wanted to do. This is why Fateful Handoff is in the deck. I'm not saying that this is a good combo. This is pretty janky, but we get to give the opponent this 8/8. We do draw some cards as well, and they will die in their upkeep. I'm so thrilled that we managed to get that one done so early on in the day. All right, on the play here, kind of weird-ish kind of hand. It's really good if we can find a Phyrexian in the first couple of turns. But having the T-Rex in our hand is not ideal for these kind of decks. But we can play everything we've got except for that, so let's give this a go. And we will drop our tap land first. See what our opponent is up to. And they are playing an Evolving Adaptive. I'll put that up on the battlefield for those that don't know what this card does. So a pretty slow start from us here. Would love to have had a 2-drop there to play, or to be holding up Go for the Throat. Axiom Engraver, okay. Again, I'll put that card onto the screen now so you can see what that does. So they're playing some kind of... Well, I'm not sure what they're doing, to be honest. It's still very early on in the day, and I'm not really sure what any of these cards do. So we'll just play each turn as it comes. But yeah, we got to play our Bloated Contaminator there. 4/4 with Trample and Proliferate. It proliferates when it does damage to an opponent, and it has Toxic 1, so It should do 2 poison damage every time it gets through. And there's Miglos, Maze Crusher. So an oil counter deck, it seems. So we have to be very wary of that card. Especially if we find a fight rig in. As they will be able to remove 3 oil counters from it to destroy our enchantment. Also, they can cleanly deal with our clay champions with Miglos as well. So, really nice card. Gruul seems quite popular. I think it's had a real injection of power with a few of these oil sort of synergistic cards. But yeah, we got to cast our Archfiend of the Dross there. And if anything, we should be able to fly over our opponent and start doing some damage that way. With the Contaminator and the Archfiend on the battlefield, we can always keep the Archfiend alive by proliferating the oil counters as well, if we can manage to get the damage through with the Contaminator. So it's another way to not die to its die trigger. Opponent removes an oil counter, discards a card, and draws a card. So yeah, not fully aware of the sort of synergies in the oil counter deck. I'm just wary of Miglos's abilities here, and it kind of wrecks our plan, but currently our plan is to just attack in the air with this 6/6, because we do die in 4 turns if we don't. Armored Scrapgorger for our opponent. Cinder/Ravager. Does 1 damage to everything, or all our creatures. So Evolving Adaptive, already a 4/4 here. Which is a really nice little 1-drop for them. Okay, they don't attack or anything, so... Well, there's Fight Rig in, which is kind of the perfect time. As they are tapped out, and... Boo, just a load of land, but we do have a Phyrexian Fleshgorger there, so... We get to cast that, I guess. I was really hoping for a T-Rex there. It also puts a counter on the Archfiend of the Dross, which is important for us. So that dies in, what, 3 turns? We die in, what, 2 turns actually, or 2 or 3 turns, and opponent is on 12 life though, so they're going to need to find a way to deal with our flyer here. I just think this card is just so good. Its stats are so high, and if you just don't have a way to kill it, it will kill you way before that you lose the game text actually occurs. And if you saw in the last game, the Thopters did a pretty good job of blocking, but green would need some kind of reach creature, I would have thought. And it's another evolved Spinoderm, okay. So yeah, this is the Scrapgorger's ability. You get to exile a card from a graveyard and put a oil counter on their Scrapgorger. Obviously nothing in our graveyard for them to exile. But it's really nice against the reanimated decks. Opponent with Hexgull Slash, okay. 2 damage to any creature, 4 damage to a creature if it has Toxic. And yeah, they're going to have to attack because they can't really target the Fleshgorger. They are going to die in the air, so they have to try and kill us, I guess. And they're debating, I guess, what to attack with. Because we always have this 7 life from the Fleshgorger in our bag, really. I think the worst thing for them to do is not attack, though. Because what, they're going to go down to 4 next turn just in the air. Okay, they attack us just with the Ravager. And there's Gwenna, okay. Well. Put the counter on the Archfiend. I guess we could have put it on the Fleshgorger there, as it doesn't really matter if we do an extra damage in the air to them. We could have done with having the Fleshgorger on 6 toughness to block these ground creatures. but it doesn't matter anyway. I think the Archfiend of the Dross, the second Archfiend of the Dross, should see us home, even if they can find a way to block one of them, especially as they only have one card in their hand. So a very grindy kind of game for us here. The stats on our creatures have definitely overpowered our opponent's creatures. But we did find that fight rigging at just the right time, so that was pretty important. But the oil deck does seem like it has some potential. Expect to see a lot of it around. I like the idea of oil counters and proliferate. And yeah, there's not really much they can do. Even if they threaten lethal damage, we have our 2 blockers here. Just double checking the cards to make sure I'm not missing anything like double strike or like counters and stuff. I mean, Miglos is the one we want to be careful of. They can make it an 8/8. So block Miglos. And yeah, might as well just block another one of their creatures. As we don't know what they've got in their hand. I know I'm feeling a little bit sort of scared of this attack, but I'm really just not sure what any of these cards specifically do. And opponent, I guess they are going to remove some oil counters, but unless that is a removal card in their hand, I think they're going to die anyway. So, just waiting for it to go to damage here. Okay, they do have a pump spell. Alright, target creature gets +X/+X and hexproof until end of turn. So we were pretty close to dying there. But the Archfiend of Dross, as I just totally forgot, when a creature the opponent controls dies, they lose 2 life. Alright, on the draw here. Hand looks really nice if we had a fight rig in. I mean, we're always going to keep this. We have a nice little 2-drop with our Scrapgorger, and we have a Shakedown Heavy. So if we do find a fight rig in, we are in business here. But without a fight rig in, we got a pretty nice hand anyway. Opponent with a Thicket untapped, and a Skrelv. Toxic 1 can't block, and Phyrexian Mana get to put a give a creature basically protection of a colour till end of turn. Protection without saying protection. And Evolving Adaptive, okay. So it's a 1/1 that is going to increase as time goes on. We find another Clay Champion. So pretty okay that we've got 4 mana in our hand and we can just cast everything we've got here. Get down our Scrapgorger. Fingers crossed we get a fight rig in soon. Opponent straight up Selesnya, it seems. And still Seraph, okay, a card I don't like playing against because I think it's really good. Adaptive gets a counter, and they are going to give it flying until end of turn, so a nice little synergy there between those 2 cards. Yeah, I love Still Seraph, I think it's such a good card. I just hate playing against it because I think it kind of takes over a little bit when it starts giving lifelink to big creatures. But classic time for us to play our Archfiend here, so we get to block any of their shenanigans in the air that they may have. They are reading our card as they have priority with Skrelv, it seems. So this might be the first time that they've seen this card. This is very early on in the early access event. Slaughter Singer, okay, so each time a creature with toxic attacks gets +2/+2. So they are on some kind of toxic synergy deck here, it seems. I'll put that card on the screen. But yeah, haven't really got any attacks, have they, with the Archfiend here? I think our biggest problem is making sure that we don't die to it. So we're going to be on the beatdown a little bit. Good job we drew in a second Archfiend there. We won't show them that though until we get a chance to attack with this one. So we'll attack our opponent. Okay, they take it. They may feel that next turn is fine because they're just going to give a creature they've got lifelink. It's going to tap differently just to make sure that our Scrapgorger isn't tapped, as I want to be able to remove things from graveyard at instant speed if needed. And especially as there's nothing in the graveyard, I'm not sure why it was tapping that, to be honest. So opponent down to 14. They can obviously gain life with the Seraph, especially if they find a big creature. But we have a lot of damage coming through in the air next turn to them. So I guess they can't really attack. I guess they could give lifelink and attack, and then we'll see what they do. Okay, they are attacking, it seems. So this is interesting as to what to do here. I mean, we could block. They may have a Ganjo in their hand. So I'm actually not going to block this. I really don't know at this point what kind of spells our opponents carry. So they go up to 17, but they're going to take a ton of damage in the air here. Nothing in the graveyard for our Scrapgorger. Archfiend goes down to 2 oil counters. There's a fight rig in, which is pretty nice because if anything, it's just going to put a +1 counter on one of our creatures. T-Rex would be nice here off the top. Okay, there is a T-Rex. And there's another flyer as well, which is pretty nice, but I'm not going to turn away a T-Rex here. And this is... it's going to be close to lethal, I think. I'm sure they didn't expect this to come down. Its Ward 4 is just so good. Like any removal people have, especially this early on in the game, is just kind of nerfed a little bit with this card. The stats on this is just... I'm just going to play it in every green deck that I play going forward. And yeah, we just get to attack for, what, 21 damage here. So opponent is going to have to make some blocks. And they just block with a 2-2. So they've clearly got something in their hand. But they can't target the T-Rex. Okay, Tyver's stand, sure. +X/+X, hexproof. Indestructible. But I guess it does save them. They go down to 2. Okay, so they're going to need to find a way to blow up the board here. And they don't. They scoop it up. Nice. All right, on the play. Hand looks pretty mono black here. We all keep it as we have our Archfiend, which is fast becoming my favourite card of this new set. We get to cast our, or play our Swamp. See what the opponent has. It's Jetmir's Garden, so could be a whole host of different decks. Okay, it looks like it is going to be Naya. Rafine's Informant suggests a Reanimator deck, so we absolutely need to get this Scrapgorger on the battlefield. Okay, they discard a portal there. Thank goodness we draw a forest. So hopefully this Scrapgorger survives a turn, because we really need to get rid of this card from the graveyard. I've never always been 100% sure when we can target things from the graveyard and if we can respond to them targeting it. So hopefully I managed to get that all correct in this game. But it's always been something I've been a little bit unsure about. But opponent with a Scrapwork Mutt, and something else goes to the graveyard there. We get to play our land, and that was a Traxxer. Okay, so they are definitely all in on the Reanimator here. Portal and a Traxxer. I mean, what are we going to want to get rid of from the graveyard is going to be the question. But gonna just get rid of Portal for the moment so that we can cast our Fleshgorger and then hold open our go for the throat, which could deal with a Traxxer, I guess. So that was the plan there. And opponent is going to hold open 4 mana, it seems. We find a forest, so I'm okay with land drops. As long as we can hold open our Archfiend of the Dross. So probably a small little gameplay error here by tapping the Scrapgorger now, as they have open mana probably to get rid of a, or to put a card in their graveyard. Playing around our Scrapgorger. So not ideal for us in this particular instance. So hopefully the opponent is going to discard a card that we can kill with Go for the Throat. Hit big score, and there goes Gaea. So Gaea, pretty annoying card for us there. Kind of didn't think they were going to discard a Planeswalker, to be honest. And if they've got a reanimation spell, they're going to want to do it now. Okay, there's Invoke Justice, okay. So Gaea, not the absolute end of the world for us, really. It does have hexproof. But we'll see what they follow it up with. And I guess they get to exile a target creature with enchantment if it was an aura, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 white spirit. So I wonder what they're going to do. I wonder what synergies they've got, but I'm interested to see. So I do like Reanimator decks, but not sure how it works in this instance. Opponent is going to target our Fleshgorger. That's fine by me. They're going to make their own little Fleshgorger, a little 1/1 flyer there. Okay, well, we're just going to pass our turn. And yeah, just see what the opponent follows up with, what happens here. We find a Contaminator, which is probably not what we want there. We need a Phyrexian in there, I was hoping for. But we'll play our Archfiend of the Dross. And don't really want to lose my Clay Champion, so no attacks, we'll just hold our turn. This time, hold open our Scrapgorger to react to anything the opponent wants to do. Okay, so Gaea ticks up by 2. Each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So they go back up to 19. And we can just... Okay, they're going to attack us. Has Menace. Block the Mutt, I guess, because we can always remove that from the graveyard if we need to with our Scrapgorger. Opponent loses 2 life, goes back down to 18. So this is a classic one of those games where I don't think either of us really know what's happening. Opponent does cast the Elder Dragon Maw, which is going to clear our Archfiend of the Dross, which I'm not too fussed about. They do clear their board though. Okay, well we can get rid of Ruffian's Informant here, which is going to give us a clean attack next turn. Get rid of the Mutt from the graveyard. I'm not sure why they did that. Okay, T-Rex off the top. And yeah, we can just cast that. And unless they've got removal, this is 16 damage. This is an unbelievable turnaround. I'm not sure why they just blew up the board there, to be honest. But yeah, there's probably a synergy that they that I don't see, but it doesn't matter. We do 16 damage in 1 turn. All right, on the draw here, hand looks okay. We have some ramp with the Scrapgorger and Gwenna. Looking for one of our big boys, or a Phyrexian would be nice. Opponent with an Esper deck, I presume. It looks that way. They don't cast a spell. I guess they could counter, but we need to cast our spell, so we'll cast this Scrapgorger and it survives and doesn't get removed, which is nice. Seems a little bit more freedom to play spells in the early access events, as I don't think there is as many counters and removal. Not saying there isn't, but there's not as many. Opponent with a Plaza of Heroes, so I'm guessing a Esper Legends deck, and there you go. There is Toulouse. So there's a few new little additions to this deck. I have made a deck with these cards that I'm going to play a little bit later on. There's a nice little 1-drop and a 2-drop. And if you want to be... if it's a Ratadrabic deck, there's a card that doubles your tokens, which is a little combo-y, kind of greedy deck choice. But I'm sure you'll come across those as and when you see them. But anyway, we casted our Bloated Contaminator. It's a card that could be replaced with something else in this deck, but I just wanted to play with new cards, really. And it does proliferate. Opponent attacks us with their 4-2. Well, I'm just going to take the damage, I think. I'm eager to get a poison counter on the opponent, and there is Sheoldred. So Sheoldred is still around. I attempted there to get a counter on the Scrapgorger, but there was nothing in the graveyard, so it didn't get any. And we got to kill the Sheoldred in our upkeep. Tap the opponent down, and they get a poison counter, and we get to proliferate. So make a slight mistake there. I wasn't sure about how the UI worked. I went to click to proliferate them, but it had already automatically done that. So there is a little public service announcement about proliferate. If that's the first time you're coming across it, it automatically picks it for you. So I did miss out on a poison damage there. But that was my first time doing this, and I never make that mistake again. You want to be careful as well with proliferating things like sagas. Sometimes you don't want to proliferate specifically. And an opponent with Dennick and Jediah. So just, it looks like an old-fashioned Esper deck, but we actually get to cast our T-Rex here as we have the mana to do so. And we'll follow up with a Fleshgorger. T-Rex has haste, but we always want to attack with it. It also has Ward 4, so if they have any kind of removal, they're going to have a problem with it. I guess they're going to have to do some blocks here. They can't surely take 8 damage, which they do. Okay. 8 damage and 4 poison counters. Really annoying that if we had actually proliferated that poison counter at the beginning, they would be on 6 now, which is just 1 damage of our T-Rex. So yeah, fingers crossed that doesn't come and bite us there. I'm starting to feel pretty stupid about that right now, as we only need to get 1 point of damage through from this T-Rex to do 4 poison damage. Opponent with an Adeline though, so they have more than enough blockers here. So a little bit of a board stall here. We could do with our flying creature. Still going to get in there though. Really would love this Contaminator to get a damage through. Scrapgorger not so great with Dennick on the battlefield. Just getting attacking, seeing what the opponent wants to do. They're going to lose, well, they have to lose several creatures now, so I think this is the best way to do it. We can always cast any creature that we draw. So they go to block our Contaminator and triple block our T-Rex. Okay, well, just say go. Opponent didn't take any damage from the T-Rex, so they did proliferate up to 6 now. And we get to proliferate all our counters, and as you saw then, I didn't mess around with clicking around for proliferate. So we've got the opponent down to just the 1 creature. They do find a Sheoldred, which is a pretty nice turn for them. So we find a Swamp. I'm really hoping this doesn't mean that we're going to... Sheoldred's going to start taking over a little bit here. Get in with a Fleshgorger. Has Menace. And just doing this now whilst we have the opportunity to get rid of Dennick from the graveyard. So yeah, opponent back up to 7. And there is a new card. So I will put that one onto the battlefield. It gives Battle Cry, Rhea Ivor, Bane of Blade Bold. Opponent gains some more life with Sheoldred, as we find a Fateful Handoff, which is really not what we wanted to draw right now. Sheoldred puts them back up to 9, and there's the 1-drop Skrelv. 1/1 Might that can tap, pay a Phyrexian white mana, and give a creature basically protection from a colour until end of turn. So this is just a little slow grind here whilst we try and find some gas ourselves. This Clay Champion, I mean, this is going to be a pretty big Clay Champion. So we'll definitely play Clay Champion for as much mana as we can do. So what's that, 9, I think? X is 9. X is 7. No, yeah, X is 7. There we go. Got there eventually. So this is going to be a pretty large threat on the board. And as we're tapping our creatures, we get to exile something from the graveyard. So a pretty grindy game here. Sheoldred is keeping them in the game. But yeah, we're just a T-Rex away from winning this. That would be nice. And we will say go. So the Scrapgorger is actually tapped for white mana there. So I could have put both counters on the Fleshgorger. Not used to actually having these Scrapgorgers tapping for white mana in this kind of deck. So I guess the opponent's just hoping that their Sheoldred can see them to victory. And it's Gix, okay. And Rhea Evil triggers, but they're not attacking, so they're not creating any mites. Not so sure if that card is that great, but I'm sure there is a deck for it. It's the only card with Battle Cry in this set, which is odd. But there's Phyrexian, so we get to look at the top 5. Unfortunately, no T-Rexes. We do find the other, or another Phyrexian. So I'm looking for our flyer or a Phyrexian, or a T-Rex here. We did find another Phyrexian, so we'll see what we can find under this one this time. Okay, there's both our flyers, so finally we can do some damage in the air. But we're going to have to wait a couple of turns for that one. So sit back and watch us not win right now. I'm going to attack with a Fleshgorger here, put a little bit of pressure on, but also more importantly, gain us some life. As the opponent's deck could, I guess, find a way to get through all of our blockers. Opponent double blocks here. Well, let's get rid of Sheoldred. It's posing me a problem. Yep. Completely forgot about Plaza of Heroes, as they had all that open mana, so it gains it indestructible, but I think gaining 5 life isn't too bad in this particular instance. So a few little mistakes here, but we're just waiting for our flyer to enter the battlefield from Phyrexian. Maybe without the Fleshgorger on the battlefield, it may prompt the opponent into attacking. Okay, there's Dennick. That's fine by me. They're going to need a flying creature. Okay, and they go to attacks, and let's see if they want to attack this time. They do not. All right. Okay, another fight rig, and that's perfect. So maybe we can find a T-Rex now. So what do we find here? Okay, not particularly what we want again, but I guess there is another fight rig in. And we will put the counters on. Put them on Gwenna. Just try and spread the wealth. It doesn't really matter about having a massive clay champion right now, as the opponent can just block with smaller creatures. Okay, no T-Rex, but there is a Fleshgorger under a fight rig in there. Here comes our flyer. And then next turn we can start doing some damage in the air and try and put this game to bed. And worst case, the opponent survives, we should be able to just Fateful Handoff, because I'm pretty sure they don't play any counter spells. So pretty sure we've got the win here. We just need to wait a couple of turns. Opponent is in the tank thinking what to do. So Skrelv does give protection, but with our clay champion on the battlefield, we can block any of their creatures. Maybe they should have given Sheoldred protection from green and got attacking, because then we would have lost our clay champion at some point. But the longer it stays like this, they don't have any creatures in the air, so the longer it stays like this, we are more likely going to win. Especially as we get to put 4 counters on our Archfiend next turn. So we're going to do 10 damage in the air. Opponent kind of realizes that, so they have to attack with their Denic. Okay, I'm just going to block and see what they do. I don't really care if they go up another 2 life. They lose 2 life because of Archfiend of the Dross. I guess that is something we need to remember as well. It's the sort of last line of text that I always forget. A bit late there in the Scrapgorgering the Denic. Can't respond to that, it seems. As we find a T-Rex, I mean, we can just cast that. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. And this should be... I guess it's going to be game over. I'm just going for the T-Rex here because we just need to do 1 damage through to our opponent. Don't forget, every time one of their creatures dies, they're going to lose 2 life. We get a Fleshgorger out and we're going to attack. Denic is a flyer, I guess, so the it can block our Archfiend, so there was no point necessarily putting counters on the Archfiend there as well. But yeah, a load of damage through, and they need to put 12 toughness behind this T-Rex, otherwise they're going to die with poison damage right now. So they're definitely going to be losing most of their board. See how they want to play this. They have their Skrelv if they want to activate that, but yeah, so they're going to take a whole bunch of damage here. Because 4 of their creatures have died, which is 8 damage to their face. Sorry, 3 of their creatures died, so that's 6 damage to their face. They've lost half their board. Although they saved themselves poison damage, they're definitely going to die in the air this coming turn. Unless they can find a way to kill our flyer. But we have tons of other threats here, so this should have wrapped it up here for us. We were just waiting for the Archfiend there and the T-Rex to come down. I guess 2 of the opponent's creatures can't block anyway. Opponent good games us, and that is a long victory there.